In the heart of the Pacific Northwest, nestled deep within the ancient forest, lay a place known as Whispering Woods. It was a realm where legends whispered through the rustling leaves and shadows danced beneath the moonlit canopy. Among the tales that echoed through the darkness, there were stories of hunters who ventured into the woods, seeking prey, only to become prey themselves. Among these hunters was a man named Ethan. He was an experienced outdoorsman drawn to the challenge of hunting elusive game. With his rifle slung over his shoulder and his senses sharp, Ethan entered the Whispering Woods one crisp autumn morning, unaware of the horrors that awaited him. The forest seemed alive as Ethan stepped into its depths. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and pine, and the silence was broken only by the occasional call of a distant bird. Despite the tranquility, Ethan felt a sense of unease creeping over him, a primal instinct warning him of unseen dangers lurking in the shadows. Undeterred, Ethan pressed on, his eyes scanning the underbrush for any sign of movement. As he ventured deeper into the woods, he began to notice strange markings etched into the trees, symbols that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. Ignoring the warning signs, Ethan pressed on, his curiosity piqued by the mysterious symbols. Hours passed, and the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the forest floor. Ethan knew he should turn back, but something compelled him to push forward, deeper into the heart of the woods. It was then that he heard it, a low guttural growl echoing through the trees. Ethan froze, his heart pounding in his chest as he scanned the darkness for any sign of the source. But the woods remained still, and Ethan forced himself to continue, his senses on high alert. As night fell, Ethan made camp beneath the shelter of a towering cedar tree. He built a small fire, its warm glow casting flickering shadows across the forest floor. But despite the flames, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of being hunted. As he settled in for the night, Ethan heard the first whispers, faint voices carried on the wind, their words twisted and distorted. He dismissed them as the tricks of his imagination, but as the night wore on, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. Unable to sleep, Ethan rose from his makeshift bed and ventured into the darkness, his rifle clutched tightly in his hands. The forest seemed to close in around him, the trees looming like silent sentinels in the night. And then he saw it, a pair of glowing eyes staring back at him from the darkness. Ethan raised his rifle, his hands trembling as he took aim at the creature lurking in the shadows. But before he could fire, he heard the whispering voices once more, urging him to run, to flee into the safety of the night. Terrified, Ethan turned and ran, his heart pounding in his chest as he crashed through the underbrush. But no matter how fast he ran, the voices pursued him, their whispers growing louder with each passing moment. Finally, exhausted and disoriented, Ethan stumbled into a clearing, his breath coming in ragged gasps. It was then that he saw them, a circle of figures standing silently in the darkness, their eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light. Ethan tried to flee, but it was too late. The creatures descended upon him, their claws tearing at his flesh as he screamed in terror. And as the darkness closed in around him, Ethan knew that he had become just another victim of the Whispering Woods, a hunter hunted by forces beyond his understanding. Years later, a group of hikers stumbled upon the remains of Ethan's camp, the fire long since extinguished and the forest reclaimed by nature. They spoke of strange symbols etched into the trees and whispered voices carried on the wind, tales that echoed the legends of Whispering Woods, where hunters ventured at their own peril, never to return. Deep in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains stood Blackwood Manor, a grand estate shrouded in mystery and tragedy. For generations, the Blackwood family had lived within its walls, their fortunes built upon the timber harvested from the surrounding forest. But as the years passed, whispers began to spread of dark deeds and forbidden rituals performed within the manor's hallowed halls. Among the tales told of Blackwood Manor was the story of the hunter's curse, a curse said to befall any who dared to trespass upon the family's land in search of game. It was said that those who dared to enter the forest never returned, their fates sealed by forces beyond their understanding. One such hunter was Thomas, a rugged woodsman drawn to the challenge of tracking elusive game through the dense undergrowth of the Appalachian wilderness. Armed with his trusty rifle and fueled by tales of the legendary beasts said to roam the forest, Thomas set out one crisp autumn morning, determined to prove himself against the dangers of Blackwood Manor. As he ventured deeper into the forest, Thomas couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of unseen eyes following his every move. But he pressed on, his senses sharp and his determination unwavering. Hours passed, and Thomas found himself deep within the heart of the forest, the towering trees casting long shadows across the forest floor. It was then that he spotted his quarry, a magnificent buck, its antlers gleaming in the dappled sunlight. With his heart racing, Thomas raised his rifle, taking careful aim at the majestic creature. But before he could pull the trigger, he heard it, a low, guttural growl echoing through the trees. Thomas froze, his eyes scanning the underbrush for any sign of movement. And then he saw them, a pair of glowing eyes staring back at him from the darkness. Terrified, Thomas raised his rifle, but before he could fire, the creature lunged forward, its claws tearing at his flesh. With a cry of pain, Thomas fought back, his rifle forgotten as he struggled to fend off the beast. But it was no use. The creature was too strong, its fury relentless. And as the darkness closed in around him, Thomas knew that he had become just another victim of the hunter's curse. A warning to all who dared to challenge the ancient forces that lurked within the forest. Weeks later, a search party ventured into the depths of Blackwood Manor in search of the missing hunter. But despite their efforts, Thomas was never found, his fate forever entwined with the dark legacy of the cursed forest. And so, the legend of Blackwood Manor lived on, a cautionary tale whispered among the locals, a reminder that some places are best left undisturbed, their secrets buried beneath the tangled roots of the ancient trees.